Where does it all go down? Where can I go in this town? Where do all the boys hang around? At the Yoko Cigar Lounge, yeah. I'm stepping out tonight. I'm gonna go watch the fight. I'll smoke one for you, hanging out with Chuck and Blue.
Welcome to Koi Cigar Lounge. I'm Chuck, also known as Blue, and you're cigaring with Chuck. Today we have with us Atlas Rising. Atlas Rising, what a name. Atlas, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Kind of at a glance, 13-year, 3-tour combat veteran. I'm an uncle to 3 nephews, 1 niece, brother, youngest of 3. I enjoy sports. I love getting out hiking. I've done a lot in my life, and it's all kind of. Yeah.
You're one of those well-rounded guys. You know, I kind of just jumped right in there on you. I forgot to talk about what we're smoking.
Oh, yeah.
Today we're going to smoke a GTO Anesthesia 100% Dominican cigar. So it's a Puro. Full body cigar. And so far, I mean, we've lit up, and so far it's a good stick.
I agree.
Have you smoked this one before?
I haven't had the Anesthesia. I've been hooked on the GTO Lancero painkiller.
Oh, the painkiller.
The painkiller has been an absolute enjoyment. Like, I've had quite a bit this last week, actually.
Now, I've had the painkiller in the Toro, and I've had it in that big one, the 70 gauge.
Yeah.
But this Anastasia is another full body cigar. Got good flavor to it.
Yeah.
Like I said, 100% Dominican, and which all their cigars are. Make a really good cigar.
Yeah.
So, where are you from?
Excellent wine. Well, just a note on the GTOs. They've been my favorite so far over like probably the last about month and a half, and really enjoying that full body, but not getting that like kind of overpowering kind of sit you down kind of cigar.
Right.
So it's like a really fine balance, and so hats off to GTO for producing such great cigars like the Anesthesia and the Painkiller. Been really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I like about the GTOs also.
Yeah. But your question was.
Where are you from?
Oh yeah. So I was born and raised in California. I mostly up in Redding, California. My family migrated from Bakersfield to Long Beach, and then eventually all the way up into Northern California, into the Trinity Alps, little towns, Lewiston and Weaverville, and then eventually into Redding, which is kind of like it's the main city on the I-5 corridor heading north to south, and it's really beautiful out there.
Yeah, California is beautiful.
Yeah.
Atlas, your name alone, Atlas Rising. Man, that's a cool name.
Yeah.
That's a cool name. You sound like you're a writer, a poet, a guitar player, a drummer. How did your parents come about that name, Atlas?
Well, it's the story. It's the story that really, how. Well, first and foremost, my parents didn't name me Atlas Rising. That was very much a spiritual undertaking that's been going on over the last 10 years. And in around 2016, I had a very powerful moment in my life that I had come to just a point of realization of who I knew I was inside, and that name Atlas began to emerge as a byproduct of that, and so I didn't really go like right off the bat into like, hey, my name is Atlas Rising, telling everyone right away. It took me about 5 years to really come around and say, you know what, like, I'm going to test this out within myself and how how I can integrate it into my life. So changing my name from what my mother and father named me to Atlas Giordano Rising was a very thought out process and a very spiritual, philosophical journey for me. It wasn't just something that I was like, hey, I'm just changing my name because I had this experience. It was like, no, I'm thinking my life through. There's fundamental changes that are happening in my life that I want to honor, and how do I do that, and how do I really move forward in my life? So Atlas Rising is really a fundamental change and shift in my life that I really wanted to honor, and because I don't think that these kinds of moments that you have, just profound like personal experience, happen very often, and so I wanted to honor that, but it took me 5 years to integrate that whole change.
Now, was it an event that caused this rising?
Yeah, so it was like in 2016. I was in Sacramento and had an apartment, and it was a very I'd say like it was like a God moment. It was just love and acceptance. And the next day, I woke up after that night, and I wanted to, like I was saying, wanted to honor that change, and how do I do it in the most profound way. And so Atlas Rising was the name that I kept hearing, was the name that I began to really like research and go like, well, who is Atlas, and I kept in my own life just hearing that name, rising, and so I began to like look into like what that meant, and just over time began to philosophically base that name within my life and what it meant. So Atlas Rising was I would say my spiritual rebirth. And so my whole name change was like finding meaning out of all of the things that I've been through. A 13-year combat veteran, 3 tours to Iraq, and then on top of that, like...
What part of the military were you in?
Yeah, I was in the Marines for 4 years. I was infantry. And then I got out and was suffering from PTSD from war, and then realized I needed to go back in. I didn't have enough structure, and so I decided to go back in the Army.
So you were suffering from PTSD from the military, 4 years of the Army? Did you say Marines or Army?
Marine Corps.
Marines.
Initially, yeah.
So, and your medicine for that was to go back in.
It felt like the natural thing to do. It felt like the smart thing to do, realizing that I needed more structure. I went straight out of high school and didn't really have a whole lot of direction, and so I chose the Marine Corps before 9/11, which was very interesting.
Yeah.
But I ended up going to war as a Marine, and that's a whole story in itself. And but when I got out, I knew my life was not the same, and something had really shifted, and it was that post-traumatic stress that I was suffering from, and so it was kind of more of like an instinctual move. I didn't feel like I could really trust myself, and had I, after what I'd been through, and that's just a really honest statement, but I needed structure.
Right.
And so I decided to go back into the military and go through that whole process. I was good at being in the military. I was a good soldier, and it was something that would put a roof over my head, food in my stomach, clothes on my back, and so I really wanted to try that out, until I felt like I was like ready to get out of the military.
Would that camaraderie also play a part in it?
Absolutely, yeah, and met a lot of really, really great people, men and women who, it was really great about the Army. It really allowed me to kind of decompress from the intensity of the lifestyle of being a Marine, which is very intense, and what I didn't realize as a young man going into the Marine Corps, the nature of a Marine in the United States military is to go fight wars.
Go fight.
And I didn't know that. I was really naive, and I got the full brunt of it. And so the Army was the way to decompress. And
some look at it as a job, but it's way more than that. Just a job.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're defending a country.
Yeah. There's a lot of responsibility in that, and the values that go into being a Marine and being a soldier, and the job is at its roots, it is. It's like in reality, you got to go overseas and be asked to kill, and so that's like a lot to process.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
And why folks like myself that haven't been in the military, we don't understand fully everything, but we know enough to appreciate you guys, to know that that's a special kind of dude there. So that's probably why when you come back and people say thank you for your service, that's our way of saying we know what you've gone through or what you did for us. Some people don't like that, some do, but that's my explanation to why we're appreciative of you guys.
Yeah.
And then we sit down and smoke good cigars.
That's great.
Man, I've met many people like you
therapeutic.
here in the lounge, military wise. But have you only did the Marines? You know anybody that's done the Marines and then go do the Army, like do another branch of the military?
That was an interesting transition. The mindset of being a Marine is far different from the mindset.
Yeah, that's what you was alluding to, right?
Yeah. It's just different mindsets, and one might be more disciplined than the other, and but the experience of what you were saying earlier was the camaraderie factor of being shoulder to shoulder with people, and kind of like that, in the philosophical sense that suffering is a part of human nature, and when you go into the military, and you go in and you're doing these jobs that are hard and difficult, that sense of camaraderie comes from that shared suffering, and so that's where I think you get a lot of bonds, even if you don't go into a combat role, and doing a job that has meaning and purpose and has an end goal that supports itself.
Nice. How did you find Ocoee Cigar Lounge?
So I was looking for a place to be able to come and relax and enjoy a cigar, and Cleveland's a pretty small town, and I moved out here in March, and
hey man, we're a big town, a small city.
That's right. Yeah. Well, the people here are so great here in.
You got that small town feel. I understand. Go ahead. I'm messing with you.
Yeah. No, this is a great place. I found it just kind of like luck of the draw. Honestly, I went down the street to go get some coffee, and had been walking by and saw that Ocoee was here, and I love cigars, and so I decided to come in and try it out.
Feel like one of bingo.
Yep. And it was great, and so it's the last probably 6 months have just been absolutely wonderful coming in here.
Talk to me about the therapeutic side of smoking cigars.
I love the conversation. I love that you can come in here and sit down and just talk shop. You can talk about life, you can talk about politics, you can talk about anything, and
we try to hold the politics part down.
Okay, yeah.
Talk about sports, talk about everything else.
Yeah, sports.
Guns, knives, women, cars, houses, farms. just keep the politics. We try to keep the politics to a minimum in here. You know.
Over the course of this year, I had a pretty critical surgery. I had brain surgery, and the entire right side of my face was like, there was just no, the muscle had atrophied, and so like coming in here and having cigars has helped that, if that's kind of
Cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
That's good.
I know you was talking about smoking one of the Lanceros.
Mm-hmm.
Is that your cigar choice, or what size do you normally smoke? And
You
what's
know,
best for you?
the Lancero has been really great. It's the length and the gauge, I think, is correct term there. It really allows for me to enjoy the cigar and get a little bit of like facial therapy,
Right.
building that muscle back up.
So we were talking about like maybe a 6 to 7 inch cigar, about a 42 to 46 inch gauge, which is kind of thin,
Mm-hmm.
but a longer cigar for those that, want to understand that.
Yep.
I kind of tend toward the bigger gauges. I like the big gauge cigar. I'll smoke all of them.
Yeah.
But the bigger gauge, I like the bigger gauges up to about a 60 gauge. 52, 56, 58, 60. 60 about as high as I want to go.
Okay.
But we do have a 70 gauge in there.
Yeah. I think I started out with this size here. My father had introduced me to cigars probably about 10, 12 years ago. And we started out, I don't know what this specific brand was. It was really good. My father has been smoking cigars for years, and so he kind of gave me a crash course in what to look for in cigars. And so what was really cool is it became like a pastime for my father, my brother, and I to go get a cigar, sit down, talk, and have some scotch and or bourbon or whiskey or whatever, and just chat it up, catch up on life, and yeah.
That's great. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I've had a few of those stories that I've heard about, the son and the father. It's just their way of spending time smoking cigars. And we had a lady, she and her father would smoke cigars.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of cool to me.
Yeah. I have to admit, I enjoy the novelty of cigars. I've been getting an education here at Ocoee. The staff has been really knowledgeable and like what to look for and making great recommendations and size and what you're feeling for the day. It has been an education here, learning about cigars and what to look for. Yeah, it's been good. Something that I hold near and dear to my heart is mentorship. I've been mentoring this young man for the past year and a half, who he lost his father tragically, and that's been something that's been like really important to me that I don't tell a lot of people. Mm-hmm. That I think is just like an important aspect of my life that I just don't share too often. But I think it's like important.
That's
like,
commendable.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been through a lot, and the military. You got a lot to bring to the table. You got, you mentor young men, women, help them out.
Yeah, I think mentorship. My brother really he was the foundation for mentorship in my life, and he's the one that really kind of got me into it. And but yeah, I think it's important to be able to share your life experiences with the younger generation, and how they go about their lives, and having good role models and people to look up to.
I've been sitting here talking to Atlas Rising about this GTO Anesthesia, and Atlas, you smoked it down now. What do you think about it?
This has been an excellent smoke, but it's hard to really be disappointed with the GTO. The anesthesia at the very beginning was very smooth. Had like a great draw, very earthy. Had kind of like that leathery kind of taste to that. And throughout the entire cigar, it hasn't been overbearing or anything like. It's just been a really great cigar.
We added a piece of chocolate. We ate a piece of chocolate and see if it would taste. How did that go?
Oh, it was great. It was just like added to the kind of like a more silkiness to it.
Brought out that sweetness.
Yeah, which is there's an element of sweetness to this cigar.
Would you recommend that GTO Anesthesia?
Absolutely, yeah.
If you had to rate it on a scale from 1 to 5, we do ours 1 to 5 abus.
Okay.
How many abus would you give it?
Man, I would give it 4.
I got some smoke in my lung just now. 4 abus.